The first time my daughter called her teacher Mom, the entire classroom fell silent. I was standing in the doorway with a folder of paperwork clutched in my hands, already exhausted from trying to survive another impossible week. My little girl froze, her teacher froze, and for one painful heartbeat it felt as though the whole world had stopped breathing. I expected embarrassment. I expected someone to laugh. I expected my daughter to burst into tears. Instead, something much more heartbreaking happened. Neither of us corrected her. That tiny mistake revealed a truth we had both been trying to hide for months, and from that moment forward, our lives would never be the same. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the incredible power of people showing up for one another, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind the world compassion still exists. 2 years earlier, my life had looked completely different. My wife had been the heart of our family. She filled every room with warmth, remembered every birthday, packed every lunch with tiny handwritten notes, and somehow made ordinary days feel like celebrations. Then illness arrived without warning. It began with tired afternoons and harmless-looking headaches before turning into endless hospital visits, difficult conversations, and finally unbearable silence. By the time she was gone, our home no longer sounded like home. It echoed. My daughter Emma was only 7 years old when she lost her mother. Adults kept telling me children were resilient, but every night I watched resilience crumble into quiet tears hidden beneath blankets. She stopped talking about school, stopped drawing colorful pictures, and stopped asking if we could bake cookies on weekends. Instead, she simply sat near the window after dinner, staring outside as if she believed her mother might somehow walk back through the front gate. I wanted to be enough for her, but grief doesn't come with instructions. I worked longer hours because the bills didn't stop arriving just because our hearts had broken. Every morning I rushed through breakfast, tied crooked ponytails, forgot permission slips, and silently apologized to the empty passenger seat where my wife should have been. I tried so hard to become both parents that I ended up feeling like neither. When Emma started second grade, I worried more about her than I admitted to anyone. Her new teacher, Mrs. Carter, greeted every student with genuine warmth that couldn't be faked. She noticed details most people missed. She remembered favorite books, celebrated tiny improvements, and somehow knew exactly when a child needed encouragement instead of correction. At first I assumed she was simply good at her job. Later I realized kindness wasn't something she performed. It was simply who she was. Within weeks, Emma began bringing home drawings again. They weren't as bright as before, but color had quietly returned to the pages. She talked about science projects during dinner and smiled while explaining how Mrs. Carter encouraged everyone to help one another instead of competing. Those small changes became the first rays of sunlight that had entered our lives in a very long time. Still, mornings remained difficult. Emma often hesitated before walking into school. I could see fear hiding behind her eyes, fear that everyone she loved would eventually disappear. Mrs. Carter always met her at the classroom door with the same calm smile. She never rushed Emma. She simply waited until my daughter found the courage to step inside. Watching that daily ritual became one of the few moments that allowed me to breathe. Then came the parent conference. I had arrived late after leaving work early, still wearing my wrinkled office shirt and carrying guilt heavier than my briefcase. Emma was organizing her backpack while Mrs. Carter prepared classroom projects to show me. That was when my daughter looked up, held out a piece of paper, and softly said, "Mom, can you help me with this?" The word floated gently through the room. Emma's eyes widened almost immediately, but she didn't take it back. Mrs. Carter didn't react with surprise or discomfort. She simply looked at Emma with the same tenderness she always had. I felt my throat tighten because correcting that single word suddenly seemed impossible. It wasn't disrespect. It wasn't confusion. It was longing. It was the desperate wish of a little girl whose heart still searched for the comfort she had lost. No one spoke for several seconds. Finally, Emma quietly lowered her head, ashamed of herself. Mrs. Carter knelt beside her, wrapped an arm gently around her shoulders, and reminded her that love leaves room in our hearts for many people. Family isn't replaced. Love simply grows in unexpected directions. I watched my daughter relax for the first time in months. Driving home that evening, Emma stared out the window before asking whether her real mom would be angry that she had made such a mistake. The question shattered me because it revealed how much guilt children carry without anyone noticing. I pulled the car over and told her that love could never be measured by a single word. Her mother would always be her mother, and no act of kindness from another person could ever erase that. But she deserved every caring adult willing to help her heal. After that day, something remarkable changed. Mrs. Carter never encouraged Emma to call her mom again, but she also never made her feel embarrassed about what had happened. She continued treating her with patience, stability, and quiet compassion. Sometimes the greatest gifts are not dramatic rescues but consistent presence. Week after week, month after month, she showed Emma that people could stay. That promises could be kept. That not everyone disappeared. Inspired by that example, I began changing too. Instead of working every extra shift available, I started protecting our evenings together. We cooked simple dinners that rarely looked like the recipes, laughed over burnt pancakes, and slowly created traditions that belonged only to us. We visited the park every Sunday, planted flowers in memory of my wife, and learned that healing wasn't forgetting. Healing was learning to carry love differently. The more I invested in my daughter instead of burying myself in work, the more she blossomed. Her laughter returned gradually, first in tiny moments and later in joyful bursts that filled our house again. She made friends, joined the school art club, and covered our refrigerator with paintings brighter than anything she had created before. Toward the end of the school year, students were asked to write essays about someone who had changed their lives. I assumed Emma would choose her mother. Instead, she wrote about two heroes. One was the mother who had taught her what unconditional love looked like. The other was the teacher who had reminded her that love could still be found after unimaginable loss. As I read those pages during the school celebration, tears blurred every sentence. Mrs. Carter stood quietly at the back of the room, trying not to draw attention to herself, but everyone could see the emotion in her eyes. She had never tried to replace anyone. She had simply refused to let a grieving child feel alone. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes kindness still matters, and subscribe to the channel. Every interaction helps stories like this reach people who may need hope more than we realize. Before we reach the end, we have one special request for you. Please comment below with the words, "Kindness changes lives." We'd love to know you're watching with us and believing in the power of compassion. Years have passed since that unforgettable day in the classroom. Emma is older now, stronger than I ever imagined, and carries her mother's memory with pride instead of pain. Every Mother's Day, she visits the cemetery with flowers before stopping by Mrs. Carter's house with a handwritten card. She says one thank you is for the woman who gave her life, and the other is for the woman who helped her find it again. Looking back, I no longer remember the silence that followed my daughter's accidental word. I remember what came after it. I remember grace instead of embarrassment. Compassion instead of correction. Healing instead of shame. Sometimes the people who save us aren't the ones we expected. Sometimes they arrive carrying nothing more extraordinary than patience, consistency, and an open heart. And sometimes, a single accidental word reveals that love has quietly been rebuilding a broken family all along. That day my daughter called her teacher Mom by mistake, but what truly happened was something far more beautiful. She discovered that while no one could ever replace the mother she lost, life still had room for people willing to help carry the weight of her grief. In the end, none of us corrected her, because deep inside we all understood that kindness had already said everything words never could.